Hello, you've joined us for Apollo Bay WordFest and our 2021 Poetry and Pies event, Provocate. I'm Andrea DeCowie, and WordFest comes to you from Gudabanud country, and we acknowledge the traditional owners of these lands and seas of the Ma Nation, and pay our respects to elders and knowledge holders from the past, of today, and those who are currently emerging. The year that was 2020 brought us many things: solitude, isolation, silence, noise, hope, fear, belonging, community. A time of shutting down, it was also an opportunity to open windows within ourselves and examine what it meant to be human, to exist in society, and move about in this world. It was a moment to think about whose lives matter, whose deaths were tragedies, and whose were quotidian or collateral, whose voices were listened to, and governance structures, platforms, outlets that enabled or silenced or incited. In 2021, WordFest is about making waves, asking us how we can take a stand for the things that matter to us. If reading and writing are acts of subversion and changing of the guard, the poetic word can be our most elegant tool for conveying emotion, horror, dissent, awareness, beauty, or lived experience. So, this year, our Poetry and Pies event is called Provocate, where Apollo Bay locals will use their most powerful, dangerous, and subversive trait, their language, to unsettle the waters around you. Enjoy the ride.
Earthrise by Amanda Gorman. On Christmas Eve, 1968, astronaut Bill Anders snapped a photo of the Earth as Apollo 8 orbited the Moon. Those three guys were surprised to see from their eyes our planet looks like an Earthrise. A blue orb hovering over the moon's grey horizon, with deep oceans and silver skies.
It was our world's first glance at itself, our first chance to see a shared reality, a declared stance and a commonality, a glimpse into our planet's mirror. As fetch drew nearer, our own urgency became clearer, and we realised that we hold nothing dearer than this floating body we all call home.
We've known that we're caught in the throes of climatic changes. Some say we'll just go away, while some simply pray to survive another day. For it is obscure, the oppressed, the poor, who when the disaster is declared done, still suffer more than anyone. Climate change is the single greatest challenge of our time. Of this you're certainly aware. It's saddening, but I cannot spare you from knowing an inconvenient fact, because it's getting the facts straight that gets us to act and not to wait.
So I tell you this not to scare you, but to prepare you, to dare you to dream a different reality, where despite disparities we all go to protect this world, this riddled blue marvel, this little true marvel, to master the verve and the nerve, to see how we can serve our planet.
You don't need to be a politician to make it your mission to conserve, to protect, to preserve that one and only home that is ours, to give the next generation the planet they deserve.
We are demonstrating, creating, advocating. We heed this inconvenient truth because we need to be anything but lenient in the future of our youth. And while this is a training in sustaining the future of our planet, there's no rehearsal. The time is now, now, now. Because of the reversal of harm and protection of futures so universal, should be anything but controversial.
So, Earth, pale blue dot, we will fail you not. Just as we choose to go to the moon, we know it's never too soon to choose hope. We choose to do more than cope with climate change. We choose to end it. We refuse to lose. Together, we do this and more, not because it's very easy or nice, but because it's necessary. Because with every dawn we carry the weight of the fate of this celestial body orbiting a star.
And as heavy as that weight sounded, it doesn't hold us down, but it keeps us grounded, steady, ready, because an environmental movement of this size is simply another form of an Earthrise. To see it, close your eyes, visualise the lost leaders in this room, outside these walls or in these halls. All of us changemakers are in a spacecraft, floating like a silver raft in space, and we see the face of our new planet anew.
We relish the view. We witness its round green and brilliant blue, which inspires us to ask deeply, wholly, what can we do?
Open your eyes. Know that the future of this wise planet lies right inside, right in all of us. Trust this Earth uprising.
All of us bring light to exciting solutions never tried before, for it is our hope that implores us at our uncompromising core to keep rising up for an Earth more than worth fighting for.
Good evening, animals. If our evolution as animals were represented over a 10-metre timeline, then we entered civilization 1/10 of a millimetre before the present day. Our animal nature, our wild character, is undeniable, and yet it is mostly suppressed, avoided, or worse, denied. It's not surprising then we are more disconnected from our natural environment than ever. It seems most see humanity as something entirely separate to nature. This piece is about reconnection with our nature, with who I am, with who we are. The setting is a winter's dawn at Castle Cove. The cold, rambunctious wind just mocks my branded clothes. A dragon's breath escapes from mouth and weeping nose. The thought of your embrace brings others to a close. Awake but ill-prepared, dishevelled and rough-shod, I've slipped the grip of money, placed safe in painted pod, to turn and face a sky that's cursed by weather god. Once more I've pushed my soul at someone else's pace, and rarely more astray, all context out of place. I search to find that home, made real by your embrace. Life's been the grist between a mortar and grinding pestle. I shed my working skin and throw in metal vessel, to pause unsure with doubt, not ready yet to wrestle. A threshold space that leaves a soul not tame nor wild. I know that fearful adult, but follow rascal child. The alchemy of you has freed his playful smile. I cut communications to throw in travel crate. No expectations now, no tethers, no self-restraint. No icon shall define me as everything I ain't. Half ready as designed, replete with battle scar, I find your door is closed unless I push ajar. The proper man's been banished and locked in aging car. Your wild mood seduces, and you invite me in. I pause to feel your touch light up my hungry skin, but you slap me down. My absence, a cardinal sin. Line on line of challenge, I answer breathing free. All thoughts have taken leave, my blood is of the sea, until a frantic stillness dissolves our boundary. The world explodes then as we tumble, turn and twist. In elemental force no zeal of flesh resists. You'll feel no more alive than when you don't exist. Between the waves I rise, your touch rolls down my face. No more the wraith once lodged in counterfeit of place. I'm wild, alive and free, reborn in your embrace.
This poem is called Unprovoked. It's actually a song, but I'm not a very good guitar player, and I'm also a little shy about singing, so you're just going to have to imagine it sung. Unprovoked. No one's in the house except me and the sweet, pungent scent of ripe wisteria. The weekend's mine. I'm free of the usual mundane hysteria. In blissful isolation, relieved of provocation, I burrowed down like a bear in her winter cave of warm hibernation. Here I am renewed, which leads me to conclude that I've got quite a taste for solitude. But that doesn't mean that I don't love you. Darling, I love you every minute, every day. You are the sun, you're the moon, you are all the stars. You shine through every single word I say. All day the phone's been switched to off the hook. Do not disturb hangs on the entrance door. I stayed in bed for hours reading books, and I let your clothes stay scattered on the floor. But when the sun goes down on my world away from town, in my best dress, best jewels, and best perfume, in swirls of colour wrapped from toe to crown, I will be renewed, which leads me to conclude that I've got quite a taste for solitude. But that doesn't mean that I don't love you. Darling, I love you every minute, every day. You are the sun, you're the moon, you are all the stars. You shine through every single word I say. Thank you, and happy WordFest.
Hi, I'm Ismail Melzak and I'm going to play Riptide.
On a train that's heading nowhere, hurtling recklessly in time, stuck on waves that can't be caught, with no rhythm or no rhyme, lost in spaces, disconnected, eating meals that have no taste, reading words that have no meaning, buying crap that's really waste.
Welcome to the nightmare. Take a ticket, find the queue, and if you chance upon a station, make sure that train's not there for you. Wake up to seek your answers. Use your time to still that storm. Gift yourself some loving kindness. Trust yourself. Make your own new norm. Dance and sing, be loved and breathe. You are only here one time. Embrace your place with ease and grace. Get real. Be you. That's you sublime.
Hi, I'm Brett Morrison. I'd like to share with you today a short poem I wrote about my experience of when I left home. It's titled A Rite of Passage. They said it would be a great adventure, travel the world and make new mates. A car ride, a bus trip and a 2-hour flight. Before 6 a.m, I was out the gate. We all lined up and swore allegiance to the Queen. We came from every corner of Australia, but no one cared where we'd been. They gave us clothes, from socks and jocks to a new uniform. They broke us down to build anew, a future warrior about to be born. We were taught to sew and iron, clean and how to shave. With 150 new mates, we were also taught to behave. Up early, starting with a run, our days turned to learning a trade. We learnt to shoot, manoeuvre, and dig a gun pit with a spade. Sleeping in or breaking curfew could land you time in cells. Our days ended in exhaustion. Long gone was the old school bell. 1,000 kilometres from home, it was easy to feel alone. Our contact with the outside world often consisted of a letter or the payphone. We were military apprentices, committed to serving our nation. At just 15, we didn't always get along, but our mateship wasn't just our imagination. There was fun and laughter and stories from home. Our mates became our brothers, as predicted in military tomes. Hard work, values, discipline, and a sense of community. We became more than ourselves, to look beyond problem, to see opportunity. Travel the world and make new mates was the lure to leave our neighbourhood, towards a rite of passage to manhood.
My name is May Thomas, and this is a poem I wrote called 6 Ways to Break a Heart. 1. It's lonely in this country where I must make this declaration, in this modern COVID world where I must make an anti-racist statement. Is my skin exotic? Am I the pretty little prize, the out-of-place tiger lily in a world full of roses? When I'm white rice and bulgogi beef and your burgers and fries, it's not racist, I guess, if you're uneducated. How could you know any better? It must be my job to educate you then. But it gets really tiring after years of explanations that I have to keep making the same proclamations, that when someone asks me where I'm from, I must say my Asian country, because just saying Australia isn't satisfying enough for them. When I must remember at all times that I am different to the sea of white person faces, that I will never be just like these people. When it is imprinted on my mind and stamped in my bones, that's the first way to break a heart. To split a heart into two. The second way to break a heart is to ignore things. You take note of the injustices that are happening and turn a blind eye. I see the way they look at me, and I see the hostility. But every time you see the silenced, the broken, and say nothing, when you don't make the effort to even recognize, fractures form between the people who have not had the chance to say they are equal and you. As you forget about us, as you laugh along with their jokes, and as you deny us the chance to live a life as full as yours, as you remind us through the smallest actions that you are always more, that's the second way to break a heart. It might even be the easiest. 3. There are many ways to haphazardly slice open the heart, and this is only the third. There's a certain amount of power that comes with not being the oppressed, with being the best by social standards that have been placed. When we talk about racism in school or down the street, as you ask if Asian racism is really a thing, and when we say to you, yes, it is, you look with wide eyes and curiosity and ask if it is really a thing again. Because you haven't heard it before, because you didn't know that in the world where it is black and white, that there are other colors too. Born colorblind to a world that can no longer handle colorblind people. When you ask, where are you from? Really? Because apparently I, an Asian person, cannot come from Australia, and that I cannot truly be Australian in my mind. You break a heart. In this internalized battlefield of smaller wars, ones that don't make the news, and there are more than 4. There are many misconceptions about the Asian citizens, but let me just start with 4. We are not here to steal your jobs and your lands. No need to look so concerned. It's not an Asian invasion, is it now? I am not here to take away from your starving mouths. Mouths that so dearly wish we fit into a box. Mouths that have no key, no lock. Asians are in this box of science and maths, which not all of us conform to. Yeah, I speak English pretty well for an Asian. Are you surprised? You shouldn't be. An Asian woman are supposed to be submissive, huh? Somewhere down the line, I must have missed that message. And let's make this crystal clear once and for all. We did not bring COVID to your door, and this is an honest apology for something we didn't do. I'm sorry that your ignorance, your racial classifications led you to believe that we created it on purpose. I'm so sorry that you must really think that our lives are just that worthless when 5 million people died in the Korean War. It's also labeled the Forgotten War. Slipped away from the confines of a history book, is only known by those that suffered. Should our history remain a mystery, then? Should it not be known? Make an example out of flesh and bone. Carve it into our skin. 5 million people lost their lives, and I couldn't even tell you one name. That's the 5th way to break a heart. Forgotten, lost to time and conflict that arises to 6 women of Asian descent, murdered in nothing but cold blood. A massacre. Maybe their skin was a different color, a darker color, but they still bled as red as you do. But the elderly Asian woman who fought off an attacker with her hands and a piece of wood, instincts of survival. She got lucky. Lucky, they say, that word ringing like a charm. Lucky that she's still breathing. Lucky that she wasn't hurt worse. Lucky, lucky, lucky that she fought back, that she had the chance to fight back. And there are so many things now that could go wrong just walking down the town where I've always lived, this town that I miss when I leave to go somewhere else. Why don't you see this risk of a deadly dance on the streets, a dance of attacking slurs and fists? Asian people live in fear every day, and that is the 6th way to break a heart. As I stand here today, the one voice for many, I am 14 years old, and my heart grows heavy. I am seeing rallies in the streets, calling for equality, calling for people like me to just be able to live. I am 14 years old, and I am realizing that if they are not safe, I am not safe. If a child says to me that I need to go back to China when I'm not even Chinese, but we all look the same to them, no one is safe from this hailstorm of racism. But I give you my word, I will not be cowed into submission by people that disagree with my vision of a world with no broken hearts.
Hello, Poetry and Pies crew. Here's a song that I wrote many years ago, reflecting on a friend who travelled far away. And blow me down, we don't seem to be able to travel these days either. So it's got a bit of currency and a bit of relevance. It's called And Since You've Been Gone. And since you've been gone and travelled the ocean away from my country and friends, the view that I see looking over my shoulder, I'll never be like that again. Deep in the night time, alone in your journey, roofed in by numberless stars. For each one that sparkles are the sign of a good time. A glimmering few show the scars. A blossoming skyline, the flowering morning, unwrapping its colours for the day. How well I remember the letters you wrote me, the beautiful things that you say. We stood close together, we saw the beginning, and we shared the dreams of our friends. Some place called the future, the paths of our journeys will meet before the end.
Game Changer by Solly Raphael. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer, change game, no rage, on stage, a ranger. I'm both yes and no, stay and go, catch and throw, goodbye and hello, forest ranger. I'm the lightning that makes the thunder rumble. I'm the space outside of the box. I'm the magnetic field between the moon and the sea. I'm quality and equality. I'm the undiscovered myth of wordsmith. I'm the reality of my own big dreams. I'm the curve of the world that I can only just see. I'm a game changer. I'm a curly hair, very rare level of sublimity. I'm a fair in chair, a spare pair of prayers for stairs to infinity. I'm a game changer. And no matter how much you change, no matter how much the world changes, no matter how much change changes, I will always be changing as I am a game changer.
What beast did we create, circling us forever in its solitude, knowing nothing of light, all hate, waiting patiently for a host? One man did come. Be careful now. Did anyone see? As it slithered in, forcing itself into the man who dared come. Fight, punch, hate, rape, take. It drip, drips into the beast you now
The
see.
beast you now see.
Say goodbye to humanity. Say goodbye to future dreams. There's no vaccine for this disease. Nothing works on this beast. No bleach can take away its stain.
It drips, feeds into humanity.
Drips into our hearts, creating fear.
Well,
we all did go there. We're the only ones to blame.
Building fences, building walls, building rockets to invade the halls, building rockets to another tomb while setting fire to our mother's
womb, ignoring all the signs and choosing the wrong voice.
Ignoring all the signs.
Doesn't matter now. Here it comes.
Here it comes.
You're okay.
You're
safe.
Okay. You're safe.
They say. The light is disappearing. One last look before you go.
One last look before we go.
Say goodbye.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye. There you go. Floating into the dark side of the moon. Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid.
You're not alone.
You're not alone.
Too easy. This monstrous self-regard. Mass extinction, not a problem because no sacrifice is too great, to be honest. Awesome. Lies incorporated, and we're all in this together with surveillance capitalism to maintain cultural harmony. What the hell? Anyway, it's not the end of the road yet. May still be an option, a way out, surely. Someone. Perhaps change myself. But that's not necessary. Surely I mean me. How?
Watching all rather go identity in a Catholic family. You're not gonna go to the ghetto. So by the grace of the Lord's Prayer, you're not gonna go there. You're not gonna go to the ghetto.
Egrets by Judith Wright, from The Birds, written in 1962. Once, as I travelled through a quiet evening, I saw a pool, jet black and mirror still. Beyond, the slender paperbarks stood crowding, each on its own white image looked its fill. And nothing moved, but 30 egrets waiting. 30 egrets in a quiet evening. Once in a lifetime, lovely past believing, your lucky eyes may light on such a pool. As though for many years I had been waiting, I watched in silence, till my heart was full of clear dark water, and white trees unmoving. And whiter yet, those 30 egrets wading.
Apollo Bay Breeze by Warwick Landers. The early morning air slightly moves the curtains. The Apollo Bay breeze ushers in the change of season. Her bed positioned as to capture the sun's warmth when it breaches the bay's horizon. Turning onto my right shoulder, I glean her form, her auburn hair cascading over the pillow and still smelling of the organic shampoo we used to wash it the night before. The doona pulled up to cover her shoulders as a barrier to the chill of the winter morning. She lies without movement except for the rise and fall of her breast indicating life's presence. The doona cocoons her beautiful form with undulating ripple from her neck to her feet, her power and feeling offered with each breath. Slowly I inch towards her, trying not to encourage the sense of slumber's end. My mind awash with the previous day's delightful memories captured to be revisited as a cherished morsel of my visit. I'm now only centimetres from her. My eyes haven't strayed from her mesmerising face. I stop to breathe her in, to smell her, to live her. For a moment the Apollo Bay breeze bellows the curtains, prompting her to open her eyes. We lock in gaze, no words uttered, just feelings. I reach out and touch her soft cheek. Her response is simultaneous. That smile, yes, that smile, which is so captivating, so alluring, so feminine, so sweet. Finally, words are offered. Good morning, my beautiful girl. The Apollo Bay breeze has delivered its message. For another day shared, hearts engaged, mind and body will follow, for the breeze has spoken.
This is a poem by Tony Birch called A Tree and a Boat. In the time before the bay, all boats were trees. They stood end on end, settling into earth and touching air. The boats grew in the mountains and lined river valleys. In the time before the bay, the feet of boats left the earth and lay and rested on stone and waited to be called to the water. They were called and drifted from rivers born in the mountains. They navigated a web of waterways, working to the sea, and met where the mouth of the ancient river announced its arrival to the ocean. When the time came for new life, the boats provided the hollows for newborns and the cribs for nests. And when it was time for death, they cocooned the spirit and journeyed the spirit home. When the ghosts first came, they arrived in boats that were once also trees and that had always been boats, listening to be called and shaped. When men and women came in iron chains, cutting skin and bone, with children dying in the arms of mothers, they came in boats, groaning with sadness and anger. And when the boats sent themselves to the bottom of the sea, they took the ghosts, the men and women and babies with them. They are there, ready for us, resting in coffins that are also trees. Today, when the desperate come to us for sanctuary, they do not come in boats made of iron and machine. They come in boats of wood, collapsing under the weight of life. The boats are speaking and they have questions for us. They want to know, are we truly human? Or something less than we claim to be? Are we willing to lift the desperate from water and carry them to safety? Or we would just send them away? The boats are here to remind us that they were here before us, and when we are gone, they will stand end on end, speaking truth with the earth.
I'm Mr. Melzak. This is Octopus's Garden.
There's a story in these handmade walls that spans the years. A bridge you trudged with shovel, boots, gravel heavy barrow, body sweating in the white sunned heat.
bracing under winter storms. Wrists, arms, shoulders mossing with the alchemy of stone and water. Proving in the clay-stained stones and the fingerprinted mortar. But the past was real. More real, you might say, as your eye surveys the layered mass and marvels at its depth, its weight, its volume, all this evidence of stolid perseverance. More real than this empty-handed drift of present, spent in insubstantial staring at the walls, but that was how the past felt too. When it was never simply now, and you were never simply there.
Over the last year, my thoughts have turned back to my skin. I go through cycles when it sits on the surface of my mind, taking all the oxygen. It began again last year, when I heard a man say, "I can't breathe," and saw a nation's response to it. A nation far, and a nation here. Don't import those things here. They don't happen here. But they do. 475 times they do. And I've been waiting over half my lifetime for it to change. 30 years to implement the recommendations of a Royal Commission. 29 years to go beyond Keating's words. What a farce. It grew last year with the destruction of sacred caves in the majestic Pilbara. 46,000 years of sacred. Not 3 decades, 26 January sacred, or 6 generations Australian sacred. 46,000 years. We blinked. The nation moved on. And while we stayed home to protect Victoria, the government bulldozed a sacred birthing tree. Hundreds of years old, just up the road from here. Because we need a wider highway. Blink, blink. And the desecration at Lake Bolac this year. That's on Ma Nation. This country is Ma Nation. We should be beating our breasts. But I'm not a First Nations person. I'm just brown. Not just. Cinnamon, nutmeg, coffee, chocolate brown. And I see the injustices, the hypocrisy. Whose cultural practices and rituals and sacred sites matter, and whose don't. those who can question, joke, complain, and those who should feel bloody lucky, well, they should feel bloody lucky. Secret rivers and all of that. Sometimes it surges so strongly in me, my throat constricts, and I can hardly breathe. Anyway, a few months back, I looked in the mirror and got thinking about my relationship with my skin, where it had been and where it was going. It was pretty deflating stuff. And I thought, I've got to have a better relationship. And I got thinking of the blue-tongued lizards I've been seeing a lot of lately, and how they peel off their skin and leave it behind. Could I do that? This is my poem. It's called This Skin, a Relationship. Skin surfaces, skin soft, skin held, skin kissed, skin washed, dressed, blessed. Skin grazed, skin compared, skin wanting, skin taunted, skin loathed, skin spotty, skin hairy, skin touched, thrilled, undressed, skin vulnerable, skin harbouring, skin distorting, skin torn, skin nurturing, skin stretched, skin sagging, skin fragile, skin lonely, skin discolouring, skin cold, skin shed.
When I was a little girl, I drowned in the swimming pool. They told me not to put my fingers in the drain, so I did. No one ever sees you when you're drowning. You're just a bit surprised that you're gone. Only thing I can tell you about drowning is you just have to keep breathing until you hit the shore. When I was a young man, I drowned in a waterfall. I woke up on the bottom of the river, climbed through everybody's feet until I got to the shore. No one ever sees you when you're drowning. They just wonder why you're gone. One thing I can say about drowning, just keep breathing until you hit the shore. Now I'm old. I drown every day. Ocean just sucks me in, pulls me off. No one ever sees you when you're drowning.
We paint the sky with our ignorance. Too scared to feel the sun for the sun and the moon for the moon. Our knowledge is bound up in an existence of incomplete, unaware of where we can take it. How deep the depths of our connection. Afraid to drop too far in, staying on the surface for air, but our breath shallow. Constricted by a movement driven from our weakness, afraid to let go and give in to that driving pull, that humanity. We've lost touch, we've lost smell, lost our kinesthetic appreciation. Afflicted by our desire to see, sight, close eyes quickly in fright, and allow a clouded vision. Flitter from concept to concept, blinking rapidly. Tiptoe through concrete jungles, wishing our numbed bodies were nimble, able to fly through treetops, dive the extent of the undergrowth. Swim beneath bottomless wonderment, we fear the existence of life, of love, of what we have to offer. Standing on the brink of man-made extinction, toes hovering over the edge, peeping downward, ever downward. But with a want to see all, stand tall in our vulnerability, reach out, fingers touching, poking and prodding, a thing of the past, holding hearts outstretched at last.
Back in a time where hypercolour was popular and seatbelts optional, I somehow find myself squeezed into the back of an old yellow station wagon on a dusty track to a place known only of as Three Bears. Strapped to the roof are a number of surfboards, in the boot are wetsuits, and at my feet empty Coke cans and chip packets. We are on the search, which I assume means for waves. How I managed to be part of this surf trip is still a bit of a mystery. After school, most days in Perth, you'd find me down at the river, windsurfer rigged and ready. I enjoyed the power of the wind rather than the waves. So when I think back now, there must have been something more. Like most boys that age, I was trying to find a place to fit, looking for some common ground, and I thought the windsurfing group was that. But often I felt like the outsider, never really welcomed in. The surfers were different, more relaxed, more open. So on talk of a road trip, I must have asked to join, not giving much thought to the fact I had never surfed. So at a time when Bali was an unspoilt, exotic destination and Margaret River, simple farming land, the guys and I load the wagon and head south. After hours of driving, countless car parks, watching waves and long discussion, the decision was finally made. We suit up. While they paddle out effortlessly through the surf, I get smashed and washed into shore. I push and finally made it out to join the group. We sit on our boards and I take a breath. In the distance, the ocean rises and someone yells for me to go. Without thinking, I paddle. The wave takes me over and down into the water below, the weight of the ocean on my back. I panic and struggle for air, looking for the way up. Sunlight appears, and so does the reef. Somehow I wash up on the beach, alive and physically unharmed. On the ride home, there is talk of barrels, wipeouts and clean sections, all of which seem foreign. I just sit quietly and listen, expecting to be laughed at, ridiculed, but it never comes. maybe giving it a go does mean something. We remained friends, but I returned to the river and left them to the ocean. Maybe surfing is not my thing. Fast forward 22 years, and at 40 years old, I watched surfers gracefully ride waves at Skeens, a local beach break out in front of our holiday house on the Great Ocean Road. With sun in hand, we walked the beach, watching as they suit up, paddle out, turn and surf in. Looks fun. Maybe it's not too late to learn. Weeks later, I paddle out on a beginner board, watched on the beach by my wife and son into the foam and curling surf. I'm definitely no natural, but not a complete amateur, or kook, as it is known. I persist. Every weekend visit to the bay, I seek the counsel of Croc, a local fisherman, neighbour, and ex-surfer, to talk of tides, wind swell and direction. I pester him with questions of where and when to go. He talks of strange names, boneyards, horseshoes, Morrisons, sledgehammers, with complex requirements of draining tides, southerly swells and northerly winds. But years pass and we make the bay our permanent home. The number of boards have grown to a level I prefer not to mention. In the morning, when the wind is right, I drive the coast looking for waves, waving as I pass a fellow seeker. In the car park, I talk to guys with names like riddles: Fig, Lebo, Geeks, Baz. I stand beside them and look out, still not really sure what they're looking at. Paddling out into a group, I still feel the outsider, not sure if I'm welcome. I wait my turn, trying not to be pushy, talk as if somehow need to justify why I should be there. So why do I care? I listen perplexed as they talk openly, annoyed by another surfer suiting to join us, only to greet them as a friend when they do. So strange. What must they say of me, this out-of-towner, this blow-in? I see them in the surf and talk as friends, but rarely do I get a heads up or an invite. Often I feel like a gatecrasher to a party. Or is that just surfing? Do they all deep down just want it to themselves? Or does an experience shared have more meaning? Well, it's been just over 9 years since I started this journey, and some days I do feel like a surfer. I may have not been barreled, but I've had some amazing experiences. Not of all those on the wave. Often I think it's the love of the ocean that really brings me back, and surfing, well, it's just an excuse to go. So it's on Friday afternoon, I find myself suiting up and heading out into the lineup at the Point, a true locals break. The crew are all experienced surfers, half of which would have surfed it for over 20 years, and I no doubt none want to share it with me. But most I know by name and hope somewhere that allows me a place in the line. Without hesitation though, I stay on the edge of the takeoff zone, not wanting to get in the way, not wanting to be disrespectful. Over my shoulder in the distance, a large wave seems to rise up, and we all paddle out, trying to escape the impact zone. They are all caught way inside and way too deep. Then one shouts at me to go. Without thinking, I turn and paddle. The wave picks me up and I find myself looking down from what seems like 2 stories up. Rising to my feet, the board takes off and I rocket down the wave, looking over my shoulder to see the wave curl up behind. No turns, no fancy manoeuvres, just holding on. The feeling is euphoric. I ride it to the end. I lie back down and turn and paddle out. It's only then I really take in what has just happened. This feeling. This is what my friends were chasing all those years ago. This is surfing.
Our mother, who art in a domestic violence situation, hallowed be your skin. Your freedom come, your will be done, at home as it is in your dreams. Give us today your daily resolve, forgive us our impotence. as we forgive our patriarchal leaders. Lead us not to indifference, but deliver us from inaction. May the peace, the power, and the safety be yours, now and forever. In nomine Terra Mater et Filii et Spiritus Sancti. Amen.
Hey there everyone. I'm going to be reading from Walt Whitman's Leaves of Grass, and it is one of my all-time favourite pieces. This is what you shall do. Love the earth and sun and the animals. Despise riches. Give alms to everyone that asks. Stand up for the stupid and crazy. Devote your income and labour to others. Hate tyrants. Argue not concerning God. Have patience and indulgence toward the people. Take off your hat to nothing known or unknown, or to any man or number of men. Go freely with the powerful and uneducated persons, and with the young, and with the mothers of families. Read these leaves in the open air of every season of every year of your life. Re-examine all you have been told at school or church or in any book. Dismiss whatever insults your own soul. And your very flesh shall be a great poem, and have the richest fluency, not only in its words, but in the silent lines of its lips and face, and between the lashes of your eyes, and in every motion and joint of your body.
This is Easy Rider, a song by the Rank Outsiders, a great rock and roll band from southwest Victoria. Words by Matt Orchard. She wandered up to the bar, and I could tell from the start she meant business in denim and leather. Unexpectedly, she then motioned to me. You could have knocked me down with a feather. We stepped outside. That's when I saw her ride. That kind of chassis, well, seeing's believing. And a bunch of fives tattooed on her thighs that said, you better not be messing with me. So with the wind in her hair, a shot of devil may care, she lit a smoke and started revving the engine. I'm thinking I got it made as she looked over her shades. They were the kind you get from 7-Eleven. She looked me up and down, made me turn around, gave a whistle of approval, and then she said, get on board. I said, thank you, Lord. We hit the highway at 110. She's an easy rider. I'm going to strap in beside her. She's an easy rider. Easy as it seems. We headed into the night, and to my delight, she asked me what did I expect in a lover. Then she pulled out a set she bought at Honey Burdette, and I got the feeling I was about to discover. We booked the night of sin at the Comfort Inn. She was gone before the morning, and then I saw her lipstick scrawl written on the wall. It said, baby, you're a 10 out of 10. She's an easy rider. I'm going to strap in beside her. She's an easy rider. Easy as it seems. She's the cut-off denim queen. Satisfaction guaranteed. She'll bring you to your knees. Treats 'em mean to keep 'em keen. She got the engine running through the night. 2,000 cc's of pure delight. If I had not seen it, I would not believe. Easy Rider. The end.
Here's a classic written by Leonard Cohen. It's a song about love, an emotion that we all basically need to have and share in these unprecedented times. It's called Ain't No Cure for Love. Oh, I've loved you for a long, long time, and I can't believe it's real. Don't matter how it all went wrong, it don't change the way I feel. I don't believe the time can heal this wound I'm thinking of. There ain't no cure, there ain't no cure for love. And I'm aching for you, baby. your thought. I've got you like a habit. Oh, I'll never get enough. There ain't no cure. No, there ain't no cure for love. There ain't no cure for love. There ain't no cure for love. No pill, no drug. It's all been cut with stuff. I can't get nothing done. Can't be with anyone. 'Cause there ain't no cure. There ain't no cure for love. And I don't expect a medal just because the scene got rough. I see you've been so careful to forget how good it was. I'm never giving in. Oh, I'm never giving up. 'Cause there ain't no cure. No, there ain't no cure for love. There ain't no cure for love. There ain't no cure for love. No pill, no drug. It's all been cut with stuff. I can't get nothing done. Can't be with anyone. Don't want your sister love. Want that other love. Bring me a cure for love. I don't expect a medal just because the game got rough. And I see you've been so careful to pretend how good it was. I'm never giving in. Oh, I'm never giving up. There ain't no cure. No, there ain't no cure for love. I said there ain't no cure. There ain't no cure for love. And we're all in this together, so share the love.
Beloved Memories by David Simmons. My father's house, which he designed and built brick by brick, tile by hand, with only the help of one African man. His house had a piccaninny kaya, a small house for his black Austin A40, his garage and his workshop. My father was a carpenter, and there he made his glue of melted horses' hoofs. It really ponged. Melted in a tiny pot on a big black kettle on a kerosene stove. The melted glue applied with a short stubby brush. Dad said it was the strongest, and his joins still hold to this day. I was eager to please, to show what I could do to help cut wood to be glued. I took up his handsaw, which was so big in mine. He watched and spoke wise words. Never force the saw. Let the saw do the work, my son. But I was eager, too eager. Let my need to please rule my head. The saw jumped and bit my thumb. The scar still there to this day, now worn with pride and memories, fond memories, as if I'd fought a lion. I tried. He let me. Dad, my father, who art in his workshop, just picked up a shaving from his bench and wrapped it round my wounded thumb. But I was not wounded. There was no judgment, and I'd learnt to use a handsaw. To this day, I often choose the handsaw. I can split a carpenter's pencil line with hand and eye. And every time I do, I remember my dad, who died when I was 22.
Hello, my name's Nicola Philp. I did have good intentions of writing or sharing one of my own poems for tonight, but lockdown and home learning have kind of sapped my energy to do that. So I decided instead to share a poem that is really dear to my heart. I came across it when I was a teenager. It was written a long time ago, I think back in the early 1900s, by Dorothea McKellar. It's called My Country, and I'm choosing it because it makes me think of all the places in Australia that I think are my heart places, which is a term I've read about in a book called Beyond Climate Grief by Jonica Newby. She's talking about how we need to think about the places that we love and the fact that many of these will be lost if we do nothing to stop the incredible rate of climate change. It's been causing me a lot of grief, especially in the last 12 months, thinking about those things in the future. And so this poem brings back the memory of my childhood when I didn't think about these things, and my hope for the future childhoods of those still to come. And hopefully they can also still love these beautiful places, because hopefully they'll still be there. My country. The love of field and coppice, of green and shaded lanes, of ordered woods and gardens is running in your veins. Strong love of grey-blue distance, brown streams and soft dim skies. I know, but cannot share it. My love is otherwise. I love a sunburnt country, a land of sweeping plains, of rugged mountain ranges, of droughts and flooding rains. I love her far horizons. I love her dual sea, her beauty and her terror, the wide brown land for me. The stark white ring-barked forests, all tragic to the moon, the sapphire-misted mountains, the hot gold hush of noon. Green tangle of the brushes where lithe lianas coil, and orchids deck the treetops, and ferns the warm dark soil. Core of my heart, my country, her pitiless blue sky, when sick at heart around us, we see the cattle die. But then the grey clouds gather, and we can bless again the drumming of an army, the steady soaking rain. Core of my heart, my country, land of the rainbow gold, for flood and fire and famine, she pays us back threefold. Over the thirsty paddocks, watch after many days, the filmy veil of greenness that thickens as we graze. An opal-hearted country, a wilful, lavish land, all you who have not loved her, you will not understand. Though earth holds many splendours, wherever I may die, I know to what brown country my homing thoughts will fly.
Hello everyone. Strange to be staring out at you from your screen. Sad not to be there with you under the same roof. But c'est la vie. I sold a farm recently and it led to a poem. The animals do not say goodbye. The animals do not say goodbye. They do not know these words. They have no need. Why would they think to go? But if they leave, look to yourself. You surely let them down. They didn't ask for much compared to what they gave. Did you look into their eyes? No, really look? You did not, and you should know that they know. They know. It's only us that ferments such sweet sorrow. Only we would turn our backs, only we would walk away, would think that somehow this is what is done. We make so much of love, all the songs, the verses, the pop, but we are beginners, and animals are our weary teachers. We are animals distorted. Our airs and graces clog the workings, mash the gears, so flesh and soul are lost in the background noise, the noise. Do I judge people? Perhaps I do, but simply. Are you an animal? No? Well, forgive me if I move on by. We make art to know what it is to be human, but when it comes to the animals, we don't know what we don't know. If I have a fear, it's that I won't be strong enough in these hard times, and that I'll have to farewell the animals. Goodbye, but remember, it's the animals that invented love.
The poem I'm reading today is by Australian poet Philip Hodgins, and it's called Until the Cows Come Home. I watched the cows at sunset swaying unhurried down the lane, a herd of easygoing Frisians who didn't mind being cheated of their milk again. The sun was levelled almost exactly with my squinting eyes, though I could still make out above the herd an aura of dust and flies. I went back to the dirty concrete yard and hosed it clean and stood there watching where half an hour ago the cows had been. And that's where I'll be watching from until the cows come home. The biggest grey box on the farm was dead, was always dead, was dead before I was even born. It reached out of the carving paddock, a solid forearm and broken fingers reaching high for its vanished leaf aura, a nesting place for different types of birds and temptation, for sly goannas who'd get up there and steal the eggs. Who knows what made my father think it had to go, but one year it had to go, and we set to work with axes and a saw and broke axe handles, chipped axe heads and snapped saw blades on its clenched being before borrowing a ferocious chainsaw that growled its way through eventually and crashed it on a fence like a karate chop, and sawed it up for firewood eventually. The stump was enormous and wouldn't move. And we soaked the thing in diesel, we set it on slow fire, and it burned, smouldered for days and nights. We dug underneath as much as possible to let the air at it as much as possible, and it burned, smouldered for days and nights. With its half-burnt body and blackened roots, it became a giant spider, squatting in a hole, smoking, sparking and flaring up now and then. One windy night, I took my sleeping bag and lay down beside the thing and slept and woke all through the night as it smoked and flared up now and then. Sometimes when I woke, I'd watch a spark get blown along hundreds of dark yards before it went out, except in my mind, and I lay there fascinated as any child, and I'll be lying there until the cows come home. The gate swung quietly, and most of them remained asleep. The light was just enough to silhouette their shapes within the aural mist. Everything was still. The paddock was full of silence, as their udders were with milk. No flies or birds had started yet, and I'd left the dogs tied up. I looked around at other paddocks. Everywhere was my father's farm. I didn't know it at the time, but I'd be looking round that place until the cows come home.
Hi everyone, my name is Patrick, and I'm going to play for you a song called Chinese Translation by the artist M. Ward off his album Post-War. I chose to play this song for two reasons. Number one, because I like the song, and number two, sometimes I start thinking and I feel like my thoughts are important, and this song reminds me that I'm just a single human who's part of a generation, who's part of a species, who has a long history, but whose history is only a fraction of the history of the space rock on which we live, which is one of billions of space rocks flying through space and time in an ever-cooling and ever-expanding universe, which is part of a multiverse which the best minds of our generation are still trying to comprehend. And so when I start thinking, it reminds me that ultimately my thoughts are insignificant, and that time is a juggernaut who waits for no one and destroys all things. I hope you enjoy.
I sailed the wild, wild sea, climbed up the tall, tall mountain. I met an old man beneath the weeping willow tree. He said, now if you got some questions, go and lay them at my feet. But my time here is brief, so you'll have to pick just three. And I said, what do you do with the pieces of a broken heart? And how can a man like me remain in the light? And if life is really as short as they say, then why is the night so long? And then the sun went down and he played for me this song. See, I once was a young fool like you, afraid to do the things that I knew I had to do. So I played an escapade just like you. I played an escapade just like you. I sailed a wild, wild sea, climbed up a tall, tall mountain. I met an old man. He sat beneath the sapling tree. He said, now if you got some questions, go and lay them at my feet. But my time here is brief, so you'll have to pick just 3. And I said, what do you do with the pieces of a broken heart? And how can a man like me remain in the light? And if life is really as short as they say,